We are inside the Depot, the town teen center, and we are joined today by, I guess you could call her something of a legend in town, Janice Marzano, who is the program director here at the Depot.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Community Matters.
Thank you for having me.
Now, how many years have you been in this job?
In this job altogether, almost 24.
24 years.
Yeah, I've had two different positions, but almost 24 years.
And you're getting ready to retire.
Yes, I am.
And the town and generations of young people that have come through this building are going to miss you. And you'll probably miss them as
Very
well, too.
much,
Yeah.
very much.
Before we talk about your career, let's talk a little bit about the Depot itself. How it got started, what the formative years were like, how you got into this building, the old Norotan Heights train station.
Well, I was, at the time, I was a lunch lady then, so I wasn't here.
At home
but
school, right?
I was at Tokenique for 12 and then went with the principal to Holmes for another 6 until I was asked to come here and help out.
Wow.
But I started here as an assistant director, helping, because when they brought in the 8th graders, high school kids weren't using this as much. They weren't using it as much after school because they were all at sports. So they wanted to do a pilot program and bring in middle school kids after school. So as I worked for TOPS, I'm in my 32nd year working for TOPS.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what is TOPS?
Teen Options. It's run at the Darien Youth Commission runs it. Alicia Sillers, who was the first executive director of the Depot, switched over after she was here for 6 years as executive director, and then switched over to take over the job at the Youth Commission.
Right.
So the Depot was started by a man named Ed Schmidt, Ed Von Schmidt. He recently just passed away. It was so sad. He saw that this was, this was the train station. They wanted to knock it down. And he had a vision that this could be a great teen center. A man named Mike and Carol Bishko joined in with him, and they got together a bunch of kids, and the rest is history. And all these teens got together and they built these rooms. The teens worked so hard on this. There's a plaque in the front of all the people that donated and all the people that helped in the very beginning. I mean, and it's amazing. So it was opened for the latchkey kid, and they formed a student governing board, which was amazing. And it was a very small group at the time, maybe 20, 24 kids. And they were a real student governing board that went, they had bylaws, they made up code of conduct, they made up rules, and they were the leaders, and they were in charge of raising money to keep the place going, as well as the parents who would have fundraisers. But they got the money, they did it. They had car washes, and then they had 4th and 5th grade parties, and just to, show the kids what the Depot was about. They would do all kinds of events to raise money. It was so much fun. I started here just as beepers were getting ready to go out. So when I started here, there were no cell phones. There were just beepers. So the mothers would constantly call, "Can you tell my kid to turn their beeper on?" And the kids would go, "She's blowing my beeper up. I don't have a battery anymore." So it's really evolved since I've started.
And these days, who is the Depot open for? Who can come?
Anybody. It's open. Well, we have registration that we started. So in the afternoons, we have 4 middle school groups that meet after school. We have garden club, which is for girls, for 6th, 7th, 8th grade girls. It's amazing. We have garden club. We have the leadership club. We have boys club, and we have a club named Gamers, and then we have the Choose Love program. And middle school kids will come after school. They'll hang around until, their program starts, get something to eat.
Is it only open to Darien students?
Yes. You're allowed to bring a guest, Jim. You can bring a guest, and if you do, you sign it, you sign the book.
Right.
Just for emergency purposes.
And originally, wasn't it only open to high school students?
Yes.
Adding middle school students happened when?
That happened, that was like a pilot program, like I said. So I was at the end of probably around 2000.
And
One day a week, they would have parents come in,
Right.
and I came with the guy, Ben. Ben was executive director at the time. He was like the 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe the 6th executive director. And he just said, hey, you want to be an assistant? You want to help me here with these middle kids? Because he was doing the high school kids, so I did the middle school kids.
And on a typical weekday, how many kids would be in here after school?
Back then?
Well, then and now.
Back then, after school, on those days, they only had 2 days that were for middle school kids.
Right.
I'd say they're a good 50.
And what do the high school kids do in the evenings when they come here?
They'll have meetings, they will come to do projects that they're doing, they will come and, mostly their programs, they do their programs, or they'll just come and hang.
Mm-hmm. And are they allowed to stay as long as they want? Is there a closing time?
Yeah, there's 10 o'clock.
10 p.m.
The middle school kids are usually out on Fridays. Friday night we have the middle school kids, we call it Friday Night Depot. So they're out at 9:30 because that's the way it gives the staff time to clean.
So over the years, the makeup of the students that come here has changed a bit.
It's evolved.
These days, the middle school kids come after school, and the teens come in the evening, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Is there some risk of having the middle school kids hang out with the older kids?
No.
Bad influence or something?
No.
They
No,
just
they
don't
all
think
get
it's cool
along. We
like
have
this.
mentoring programs, yeah. The reason we do it that way is the majority of high school kids are either at theater, at sports after school, they're at the gym, they're busy. So we had empty time, and there was a need, because previous to the programs, the middle school kids would just come here and hang after school. They would hang, whether they do their homework, play basketball, park their bikes, middle school kids, there was no structure. They just came and hung out and had a blast. And then we started a couple of programs. And those are full, and they have a waiting list.
Right.
But the middle school kids, they mostly need a safe place to hang.
Right.
And with the cell phones coming in and the technology, the high school kids stopped using this as a meeting place. Like they'd meet before they went out, they, hang around here. But like I said, the technology and cell phones, it just changed that.
Right.
It changed the whole.
What are the rules? If I was a young person in high school and I wanted to come here, what are the rules that I have to abide by?
Well, obviously, if you walk through the door and you smell like liquor, you're going to get the boot. Hi, this is Janice, so-and-so is not feeling well, can you come pick them up? But we really don't have a problem with that.
Right.
We honestly don't. Boundaries were set years ago, and especially since COVID, we haven't had anything. We do not have a problem with that. I will say one thing, if I may. Cop cars are here a lot. There's a lot of cop cars here at night, and they'll either come and use the bathroom, come and get something to eat. The cops love to talk to the kids. The best is when you see them out there playing basketball with their uniforms. So previously we've gotten calls, what's going on at the depot? We see the cop cars. They're playing pool with the kids. Dwayne Lavello started that program, Park, Walk, and Talk, which when I started here, we totally used that program. So the most trouble the kids get into now is trying to think of example, the high school kids, if they come in smelling like weed, they come in smelling like weed, they're turned around right out.
Right.
I'm trying to think of rules. You can't go up on the guardrail. You know, you can't go play up by the guardrail. You can, in the wintertime, they can take we used to send them to Stop and Shop. We used to send them to get cartons, and they'd slide down. But rules, I'm trying to think off the top of
No
my
smoking?
head. Oh, God forbid, no.
No drinking?
Actually, no. But the boundaries have been set, so we don't worry about that. But when the depot first opened, you were allowed to smoke inside. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yes, when the depot first opened, you could smoke inside. They had designated places that you could smoke. When I got here, I said to Ben, and Ben smoked. Ben would go sit out in the back with the kids and smoke. He was hysterical. You would have loved him. He would go sit out in the back with the kids and they'd all have a cigarette. You can't do that, you know? So when I got here, me and a couple of kids, Tim Cook and John Michelli, my son Joe Marzano, everybody got together, we got some film. So if the kids wanted, after school, if they wanted to go have a cigarette, they would have to watch a movie, 20-minute movie first, and then they had to go stand across the street. It was one of those old, you know what I mean, black and white things that showed where it goes. So then a very generous person in Darien, I reached out to her and said, we got to stop these kids from smoking. They're spitting all over the place, and girls too. You know, it's disgusting. You know, and why would somebody want to drop their kid up when you see a million kids out there smoking? So she donated $1,000, and we bought this little machine that you breathe into and breathe out, and it shows you how much oxygen you have. And when the kids started seeing what the smoke was doing to them, between that and making them walk across the street, and then finally walking across the street, they started chasing them down to Stop and Shop parking lot. It took about a year and a half, my tires getting slashed. Well, we used to have a bunch of people from Cove come to play basketball, and they'd sit out in the back and smoke. And I would call the cops and chase them out, call the cops and chase them out. And so that was like retaliation, but we did it. There's no smoking. We
Right.
all worked so hard.
Right, right. You have good relations with the town, the
I
police
hope so.
department.
We work really closely with the police department.
And these days, how are you funded? Where do you get your money from?
Our main, I think our main one is, I don't do the money part, but as being the Youth Service Bureau Director for the town of Darien, Ed Schmidt looked this up. We get a grant from, it used to be from the Board of Education. Now DCF has taken us over.
DCF being?
The Department of Children and Family Services. So we belong to the Department of Children and Family Services. So they give us a $14,400 grant, which when the depot first started, when you do that and you have a youth service bureau, the town matches. Over the years, we would send kids to go talk to the Board of Selectmen and update them, because we want them to know what's going on. And we request a little bit more money, more money, and the town is so generous to the depot. I can't tell you how great the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, they're terrific. So we get money in that way. We get money because the parents do their big fundraisers. The kids do car washes, the dog show, we have a dog show now. You know, all the events that they do raise money, and then the community fund also grants us a little money.
Janice Marzano is the outgoing program director here at the Darien Depot, the town youth center, teen center, which is down by the old Narodin Heights train station. It's actually in the old Narodin Heights train station. You probably hear the trains running past because they're about, I don't know, maybe 30 feet in that direction.
Actually, they're 5 feet.
5 feet from
the back of the building,
right.
Yeah.
Pretty close, pretty
Right.
close. But that's why this used to be the old Narodin Heights train station. So you're getting ready to retire.
Yes, sir.
Why are you retiring now? Why didn't you leave? You know, you've been here for almost 24 years, you said.
I was never intended to come here. Poor Ben died. That's how I got here. I'm going to be 68 years old. I have 4 grandchildren. I have 1 on the way. And this is a lot of hours, Jim. I work 12, 13 hours a day for a long time. And with the changes being made here, we did what do you call those things? I'm going to mess you up now. I have to cut me out.
No, it's okay.
No, a restructure thing.
Restructuring, okay.
No.
I get it.
You call, I'll remember after. And we've made some changes, and they were looking to hire another executive director, which is, we haven't had one for a little bit. So it was a good idea, because so much fell on the presidents. And I was thinking, this might be a good time for me to exit. I'm old enough to get Social Security, I'm going Medicare, I'm an old biddy. But I think it's mostly, I don't want to work nights anymore. And it's hard. I'm going to miss these kids. These kids are my family. There's a group, Funbusters, that meets here. They're my family. It was a very, very hard decision.
And
Very
everybody I've talked to in preparation for this interview has nothing but the most positive things to say about the way you get along with the kids. What's the secret? If you're not necessarily in your 60s, but you're a parent, how do you get the kids to trust you? How do you get them to open up and rely on you?
You listen to them. You don't just hear what they're saying. You listen to them. That, I think, is the most important. And you respect them. And you give them their boundaries. You give them boundaries. And if they cross the boundary, you own it. Don't lie. Don't sit down and own it. We also we're using conflict resolution that we learned from LibHouse.
What is that?
If you've done something wrong, say 2 kids have a fight. You sit them down, and we do it the exact same way that we learned at LibHouse, liberation programs. You have them both sit down, hands on the knees, and they indict each other what they think they've done. And then they talk it out, and they shake hands, and they're good. We used that a lot back when we first started letting the middle school kids come here, because this isn't some place where you go. You got to behave in here. You have to behave in here, and if you make a mistake, that's okay. You have to make a mistake, but you have to learn to own it, because I believe there's no bad kids. There are no bad kids. There's kids that make bad decisions, but they learn from it. They learn from their bad decisions.
So it's life is about choices and consequences to choices.
And if you choose to break a rule, you need to own it and then take the consequence. I'll give you a hug, it's over.
So without revealing any confidential information or violating anonymity, what are some of the problems that kids come to you with that they can't seem to resolve with their siblings or their family?
Jim, now I'm on my way out. Everything from being pregnant to eating disorders to forced sexual encounters to incest to just not getting along with certain girls, the guys not knowing how to talk to their girlfriend, from one extreme to the other.
And
we refer out.
Okay, I was going to say you're not a trained
Nope.
counselor.
I'm a good listener.
But you're somebody that
We
they
refer
trust.
out, yes.
And you get them professional help?
Yes. Or I go talk to their parents with them.
And does that usually help?
Yes. Yep.
And without diagnosing the parents, but do you think the parents sometimes have this problem of not listening to their kids?
Yes. I can give you, like I said, examples. A lot of it, I've heard more than once, over the years, the kids say, well, I wanted to tell her, except, or her or him, mom or dad, but it's like, all right, I just got in, just let me have my glass of wine first, we'll talk after. And then by then, they don't, the parent doesn't realize it, but they've kind of like put the problem down here where you're more important, and the kid's less apt to go back afterwards and talk about the problem.
So sometimes it's almost the parents having a problem as well,
Yes.
too.
Yes.
Drinking,
Yes.
drugs.
But I mean, look at the example. I mean, I'll have a drink now and then, but when we say you don't need to have, I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but this is okay. When you're brought up here and you're taught, you know, in all of these groups here, you don't have to drink to have fun. Even in school, you don't have to drink to have fun. And then we will, kids will get asked, not anymore, they used to get asked to go volunteer at a fundraiser where there's drinking. Well, why are they drinking? You know, you don't, well, it's an adult, your mind is grown, your mind is cooked by the time you're 25. We're telling you, before 25, your brain's not cooked. Please don't put all that alcohol, don't do the alcohol and drugs, because your brain's not cooked yet. Wait if you're gonna do it. But if you've worked here as long as I have, and you see what ends up happening to these parents, they'll go along with it as long as they can, Jim, but then, you know, nope, you're not drinking in the basement. Nope, nobody's drinking here. Nope, nope, nope. And then you slowly watch them have to cave. They just cave, and then they let the kids come and have the parties. And do they think they're doing the right thing? No, but they want to keep their kids safe. They'd rather have them drink at home than out there. There's also quite a few parents that believe that they need to learn how to drink before they go to college.
That's a hard lesson to teach them, I guess, because they're still somewhat under the parents' influence. But if the parents are drinking, sometimes to excess, if mom and dad do it, I guess it's a role model that's going to be replicated.
Do you know, a few years ago, you know how we had the Safe Rides program here? You know what that is, right?
Tell us about Safe Rides.
Safe Rides, I'm not sure what's going to happen since COVID, but Safe Rides was formed years and years ago. It's in a few towns around here. It's in the country, and it's where a bunch of kids get together and they drive from 10 until 1:30. They take phone calls. They have an officer, they have a team, and they take phone calls for kids that need rides. Now, everybody thinks that, oh, they drive around all the drunk kids. That isn't necessarily so. It's to me, it's very controversial. But I know of kids that have been drunk that have gotten home safe because of Safe Rides. I also know
Completely anonymous. No questions asked.
No. A ton of ninth graders, especially the rising ninth graders that just started, will hear about Safe Rides, and their parents say they went to New York, they went out to dinner, or whatever. They'll call Safe Rides and get a safe ride home. So it really is used for good things, not just driving kids that have been drinking.
Janice Marzano is the executive director here at the Darien Depot.
And the
program director. I'm going to give you that
This guy.
promotion on the way out. But she's retiring, and that's why we're talking to her. In the minutes that we have left, I want to talk a little bit about kids and COVID. COVID has changed everyone's lives.
Yes.
Particularly, how has it affected kids here at the Depot?
Well, knock on wood, we got through it. We got through it without I shouldn't even say it, without an even scratch. What happened when COVID came into light? All of our clubs, we went on Zoom. We met through it. We carried all the kids through it. We kept our daily, our weekly meetings, and each group came up with something of their own to do. Courtney Ball, who was in charge of a program she started Smiles for Seniors, and she was in another one of our groups, Respect Works. She made the most awesome video during COVID about domestic violence and showing purple. Our group girls' night out, got together with other bunch of kids. They all did a project. This one, everybody was giving the police department, I thought this was so awesome. Everyone was giving the police department food in the day, all that. Nobody gave the night shift. So the girls went and they raised the money, they bought a ton of Chipotle, and they met the cops outside when the 11 o'clock shift came on, gave them all the food for the midnight shift. I thought that was so cute. They also made baskets of muffins and notes for the post office and delivered them saying, keep strong, we're here for you. There was muffins and bagels, and Charlie from Upper Crust was generous enough to donate them. The kids from the depot put signs all over town, or you've seen them, like even on the things. We kept it going, and then when we could start meeting again, we got a big tent for the back, and we'd meet under the tent, and of course you'd have to stop every time a train went by, but we got the microphone, and the kids still met 6 feet apart with masks. So we didn't just leave them. They still had that to look forward to. The hardest part the kids had, of course, was going to school online. That just was very, very hard for them. And there was a lot
why
of
was it
venting.
stressful for them? I mean, their parents were meeting in their offices and conducting business and working from home. Did the dynamic of having mom and dad not be taking the train to the city every day and come home, did that put stress on them too, because they were constantly around each other?
Some families, yes. Some families liked it. In general, the families that eat dinner together were still fine. The dads that were never home, not all were fine. But for the kids, the social aspect of it, not seeing their friends, missing that routine, not playing sports, not going to theater, they lost that. And then nobody was, they were scared. They were scared. They hear all of these things. If you listen to the news right now, for kids, there's red, there's blue. The politics are off the wall. They're scared. They think China's going to kill them. I mean, it's you put this all into one, and some of these kids, they're still not over it yet. They're not.
And how are they adapting to all this stress? I mean,
They are, but a lot of them are putting masks on, and making believe. Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, whatever. And those are the kids that have the stress and the anxiety and the depression.
So kids in this town, even pre-COVID, were under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, perhaps overbooked by
COVID,
their parents.
College.
Yeah.
College, like when you're applying to colleges, the worst thing that you can do is to go into Walgreens or CVS or store around here, because they've got to hide in the aisles, because there's going to be that mom that's kid already got into college that is going to go, oh, hi, where are you going? And the poor kid doesn't know yet. He may have been deferred, whatever. Oh, well, so-and-so is going to whatever. That's the worst question you can ask a kid. If there's anything I can get across, and it's college time, please don't ask the kid where they're going. Just please don't. It causes them so much stress.
Right. Going forward.
Yes, sir.
You're going to be retiring.
Yeah.
What are you going to miss most about your work here at the depot?
The kids. The kids in my little office. That office used to be the ticket office. And it was the most depressing, god-awful color that you ever want to see. And 2 of the moms here, Jenny Haggerty and Gina Vivenzio, made me the most beautiful office. They painted it all white, and they got me these big plants for it and a lamp. And it was like that was my little happy place. I just loved it. So that, and the kids mostly. I'm so close to these kids, because if you put into it, I've worked at Tops, but I took for 32 years. So that program is out of the Youth Commission, and it's 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So I work with Alicia Sillers for her, and I go to all of the tops. So I get to know all those kids before they even come here. Since I stopped at 30 years. 30 years. I was the director of the middle school summer activity program. So I worked here all the time, and then I worked 2 jobs during the summer for 6 weeks. That is a program in the summer for kids going into 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. A lot of field trips, we had counselors, we were great. But 30 years of doing that, and all those years of doing tops, plus when I first got here, being a lunch lady on both sides of the tracks, I knew so many kids. So many of these kids now, we have kids here whose parents went through the depot. And knowing all these families for so many years, it's hard to leave. And there's kids that you're close to, there's kids that, you know, still need that listening part of it. And they've all got my cell phone number. But there's new people coming in, and we have a great staff. Fantastic staff here. You couldn't ask for better staff. We do not have a big turnover in staff.
So you're
The
gonna miss
kids.
you're
I'm
gonna
gonna
miss
miss
the
the
kids.
kids. I'm gonna miss the kids.
Well, they're gonna miss you too, Janice.
I'm gonna miss the
And
kids.
really on behalf of the town and the parents and the kids, and TV 79, because we've worked with you over the years as well too.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you for all
Thank
you've
you.
done for the town. Don't make yourself a stranger around here. We'll
No.
keep in touch with you as well too.
I might find another little job to keep me busy.
Okay, well-
Just no more nights.
No more nights. We'll see Janice around, I'm sure. Janice, thank you very much for your time this afternoon, and thank you for watching another edition of Community Matters.